I remember every student who walked into my classroom late. I'd stand by the door, ruler in hand, and as they tried to slink to their desks, I'd tap the back of their hands firmly. The message was clear: discipline first. Respect the time, respect the learning. There was one boy, David, who seemed to arrive late more than anyone else. Thin and pale, he'd always walk in with his head down, avoiding eye contact. Tap. Every time, that ruler came down on his small, slender hand. I had no tolerance for excuses, and he never gave any. I simply assumed it was laziness. One rainy evening, as I was driving home, my car sputtered and stopped along a narrow street. Frustrated, I got out to check for help. I hadn't realized where I was until I heard a soft voice nearby. Across the road, behind the rusty fence of a rundown house, was David, standing on tiptoes to peek through the front window. His clothes were soaked, and in his arms, he clutched a small bag of groceries. He hadn't seen me yet. I watched as he reached into his pocket, pulled out a few crumpled dollar bills, and carefully counted them. He placed them in a jar by the front door. Then, he quietly opened the door and slipped inside. Something told me to wait, so I did. Only minutes later, I heard raised voices, harsh and slurred. Through the open window, I saw David silently moving around, cleaning up cans and empty bottles, while a man, likely his father, shouted at him. David didn't react. He just continued cleaning, his face expressionless, as if he had done it all his life. The reality hit me hard. I felt the ruler in my bag, the same one I'd used on David countless times. He wasn't lazy or careless. He was carrying more weight than any child his age should, managing chores for an unstable father before even stepping into school. And here I was, the teacher who should have protected him, punishing him instead. The next morning, David walked in late, as usual, his shoulders hunched. I stood by the door with the ruler, waiting, but this time, I didn't raise it. I couldn't. My throat tightened, and a strange ache settled in my chest. Instead, I reached out and gently placed the ruler in his hand. His eyes met mine, puzzled, as if he didn't understand what was happening. I whispered, "You've been strong enough on your own, David. You don't need this from me." As he took the ruler, I saw something shift in his expression, a faint glimmer of relief, maybe even trust. And for the first time in years, I felt tears well up, unbidden and impossible to hold back. David walked to his seat, the ruler still in his hand, while I stood there, no longer feeling like the teacher who had it all under control. Sometimes, lessons come to us in ways we least expect.